You're joining the Loudr Lawyer Network, the podcast where we sit down with the law firm owners, attorneys, and visionaries that are making the most noise in the legal landscape nationwide to find out the secrets to their success. Other podcasts think they're getting loud, but we're getting louder. Let's get into it.
Love that.
Welcome to the Loudr Lawyer Network, where we help attorneys scale to million-dollar months using powerful strategies and connections. I'm Raje, and welcome today, Justin Chopin.
Hey,
Justin, welcome to
me. Thank you. Thank you for having me on your podcast. I appreciate it. I like that. Where lawyers think they're loud, we're getting louder. I like that.
Absolutely, absolutely. But the loudness, we'll get into that later. You already exercise some of that through your through your actions. So your firm, the Chopin law firm, is a father-son law firm, right?
Yeah. So I started the firm 10 years ago. I'm about to be 11. I started about 11 years ago, and it was just me. You know, I started out with like an idea and like two clients I had cobbled together. I was a defense lawyer, and I had this nagging thought of like, I don't know, I don't have any data. I don't have anything other than a feeling or a hunch or I just feel like I could do this. And I told my wife, and my wife was like, if you think you can do it, do it. And then I talked to my best friend, and my best friend was like, yeah, of course you can do it. Sometimes you just need to hear that, you know, before you take like a plunge. And so I did it. And I always say, like, I started in my boxers, like in the back bedroom that was supposed to be a nursery, but we put a little desk in there, and I'd wake up, you know, and get a cup of coffee, but not even shower, change or anything. Just walk back there and be like, all right, today, I'm a plaintiff's lawyer. You know, I'm not a defense lawyer. What am I going to do? I need to get clients, right? So if you don't have clients as a plaintiff's lawyer, you're just you're a barista, right?
Right.
You know, you're out making coffee. You're not practicing law without clients. And I just poured every ounce of thought I had into it. Within a few months, you know, or a few weeks, really, I got lucky a few times. You know, I often think that a lot of business owners do sometimes, or I was available to luck, if you want to view it that way. And had an office downtown that I was subletting from another lawyer. And about 6 months after that, my dad, who I had worked for, you know, on the defense years before, he retired and then came and helped me out because I was just now starting to get some momentum. Still in the hustle mode, though, still definitely hustling. And so he came and helped me out. And then 6 months after that, I was in this space where I am right now. We're here today, and now we're 12 lawyers, and I got 32 employees, and we've done. You know, I always had this room, but I've done 1, 2, 3. I think we're on our 6th build out in 9 years. So we've actually never completed a term on our lease before. We've always renegotiated after 2 years to get more space, and we've just been growing ever since. So that's how it all started.
So take me back. That's a beautiful story. That growth. And being that company owner, firm, being an owner, I know how you feel about that. But take me back before you ever became a lawyer. Take me back in your college days. What was happening? What decision led you to be an attorney?
Yeah. Well, okay. So I'm going to give you the real story, but I'm going to temper it with this one nugget of information that I think is particularly relevant. I was the 16th lawyer in my family to be sworn into the bar.
Wow. Okay.
My wife is the 17th, and I think we'll have a little gap until some of the kids get bigger, and I'm confident, you know, 18.
Wow. A dynasty of lawyers. So
whatever I say, just take it with a grain of salt, knowing in the back of your mind, you can be like, yeah, Justin, you're full of shit, you know, that's fine. Like, you know, but I actually never wanted to be a lawyer. I had no interest in being a lawyer. And it wasn't like, oh, I don't want to be a lawyer. It's actually more innocent than that. I never even gave it a thought. It never even entered my mind to be a lawyer. I always wanted to be a doctor. Everybody loves doctors, right? I mean,
my daddy's a doctor.
Right. Everybody loves doctors. Girlfriend brings home the new boyfriend, or the daughter brings home the new boyfriend, and he's a doctor. And everyone's like, oh, come on in. You know, they make good money. I mean, it's great. It's like, what's more respectable than being a doctor?
Right.
Right. So it's like you get to be like a fireman, you know, like member of the community, but like really make a lot of money at the same time. It's great. I don't know any, you know, so that's all I wanted to do. But I have like a really good talent in college that a lot of people have, but I was particularly good at it, that I could drink a beer in like under 3 seconds. Just, you know, and so I wanted to be a doctor, but I was really, really good at chugging beer on a rugby pitch, you know,
right.
And messing around and having fun. And so eventually, you know, if you have enough fun, they just say, listen, you're not going to be a doctor. You're going to have to go be a lawyer. And that's where a lot of lawyers come from. So if you're ever like, where do lawyers come from? A lot of us, there's like 2 types. You have the poli-sci nerds that are like taking con law in high school and college, and they're like always raising their hands about the Constitution. Total nerds. And then you have the rest are just like, you know, pre-med students shotgunning beers, you know, in mesquite brush in Texas. So it wasn't, so I graduated college with a liberal arts degree in psychology. I liked it. I had to pick something. I was a physics major and I was pre-med, and I had a scholarship to study physics. And then they were like, oh, you don't really know shit about physics. So I don't understand. Why does this guy have a scholarship? And I was like, oh, y'all gave it to me and I'm here to study. I'm here to learn. And they were like, I don't know about that. We're going to go ahead and take that away. Also, can't help but notice you don't have any physics on your transcript this year.
But they took your degree away?
No, they took my scholarship away because I just stopped taking it.
Okay.
It was like, this shit's hard. I'm not taking this. It's just crazy. And so I wasn't a physics scholar anymore, and I took a psychology. So I went to a very small college, and so I had the fortunate experience of having some mentors who said, well, Justin, you know, you don't really know what you want to do because you're like a kid. You don't think you're a kid, but you're a kid, and that's okay. Just go take some. So I took an acting course. I took a psychology course. I did some different things, and then I really liked the psychology. Graduated college, still was like thinking about going back and taking all my pre-med stuff now that I'd like matured and I wasn't chugging beers. I was just sipping them. And like a human. Right. And, I went and signed up for like the 101 chemistry, you know, and I sat there the first day and I was like, nope, this still isn't going to work. I got to go. All right. Sorry, everybody. I don't have to pay for this. Right. it's just the first day. I'll get the money back. And I was like, you know what, Justin, just go get a job, you know, go get a job, you bum. And so I went and got a job, and just after about a year, you know, or so, this idea like just entered my mind. And I was talking to a buddy. I didn't want to say it out loud. Right. So, because you got to remember, like, what did I say? I was the 16th member of my family to be sworn in the bar. And so once the idea came into my mind, I was a little like, well, if I say it out loud, people may say like, oh, you can't do that. You know, you won't be good at that. I don't know why anyone would say that, but you know, that's how a 20-year-old thinks, or a 21, 22-year-old thinks. And so, and I asked a good friend of mine in college, we both were working in the same place together. And I said, hey, I have this like weird idea. Be totally honest with me. Like, what do you think of this? And the guy, Jimmy Wheaton out there, and, you know, from St. Louis. And Jimmy said, are you crazy? Yes. He's like, you'd be awesome at that. And it was just the right thing I needed to hear on the right day. And from that moment, I was at my 20th college reunion a few years ago, and I saw him. I reminded him. He remembered it. I was like, that was like a moment in my life where I never looked back. It was just sometimes in life, you hear what you need to hear at the right time that you need to hear it. And it can be from anywhere. And so I never looked back. I never stopped. I moved back to New Orleans because, you know, I had a network here of lawyers. Obviously, I thought it was my best bet. I mean, Dallas in those days had like one law school for 4 million people. So I mean,
Right.
there was no way. So I moved back to New Orleans where we've got like, you know, 5 for, you know, 20 people, and went to law school, did great in law school actually. And that started my career, but it really all came down to like a feeling and then one moment of encouragement. And then, you know, then off to the races, I suppose.
Man, that's beautiful. I saw that you went to Tulane Law School.
Oh, no. I went to Loyola Law School.
Oh, Loyola.
Yeah, I went to Loyola Law School. But we have some guys here, you know, from Tulane. We have a couple LSU guys. Louisiana's got a lot of law schools, right? So I make a joke, but we have 4 law schools in the state of Louisiana. The entire state of Louisiana is 4 million people. Put that in you know, contrast that with the Dallas, you know, metro area is 4 million people for the entire city. I mean, we're the entire state. So we have a lot of law schools, and we crank out a lot of lawyers in Louisiana. But no, most of my family all went to Loyola, so I went to Loyola too.
Is Loyola in Louisiana, or is it in? Also, there's a Loyola out there because there's a
Yeah, you
Loyola
got Loyola
in California.
In California, like Loyola Marymount. You have Loyola Chicago, and then you have Loyola New Orleans. So I went to Loyola.
Okay.
So, and that's, you know, look, my dad went there, my mom went there, my older sister went there, my uncles went to law school there. You know, I have.
So your whole family, like sisters and everything, everybody's attorneys.
My mom's a lawyer, my dad's a lawyer. I have a sister that's a lawyer. My wife's a lawyer. My cousins are all lawyers. I have aunts and uncles, cousins, spouses.
You know, that's a show, a dynasty of lawyers. I've never heard of anything like that. That's
well, we just lack imagination. No one knows what else to do, so they just go to law school. You know, it's interesting. So when I say I'm the 16th member, a lot of people will think that it's like a deep, you know, heritage, and it's not. It's very shallow and wide. It was just like when generation, just everybody went to law school and married lawyers, and that's that. But yeah, that's kind of how that played out.
That's beautiful. So that was the moment you realized you were practicing law. Did you start out in? You didn't start out in personal injury law. You talked about defense. Were you criminal attorney?
Yeah, no. It's a good question. So if you do well enough in law school, you oftentimes will naturally matriculate to these defense firms, you know, these large firms, and you want to get the job at the biggest firm with the biggest paycheck, the most prestige. And I got kind of like funneled into that without meaning to. In my mind in law school, I had always thought, you know, kind of going back to similar themes, I should probably like pay more attention to what the hell I'm doing. But, you know, in my mind, I always thought maybe I could be a plaintiff's lawyer. Maybe that kind of sounds cool. But again, you don't know anything about law when you're in law school. They don't teach you that kind of stuff. And they encourage you to go get the job at that big, you know, corporate firm or commercial litigation or insurance defense, because it's stable and it's steady and it's respected. And that's what you do. But I was very bored. My heart really wasn't in that. I liked the idea of it, but almost as soon as I started, I was just completely bored with it. I remember like my first assignment was like, write a letter to this guy saying X, you know, and I was just like, you know, I was like, well, that's not very exciting. And that's just a young lawyer, you know, you have all this momentum and energy. And sometimes you got to slow down a little bit, and learn, you know, and so that's kind of how that happened. I started with this idea in my mind. In my mind, it was like, I want to be a business owner. When I thought about it, it was more geared towards like a small business, not in law. I didn't know what it was. It wasn't until I started the law firm that I realized I was having these feelings, these like natural inclinations to being like an entrepreneur in law, you know. But it didn't have to be something else. I don't have to be selling widgets or making coffee or doing real estate. You could still stay in law and really enjoy it. After about a year of doing the Chopin law firm and seeing it all kind of come together, that's when I realized, oh shit, yeah, okay, so this is what I was meant to do. This is great. I love this, and I've been happy ever since. You know, there's not a day that goes by where I'm not totally excited to come to the office and see everybody and face new challenges and figure out new things. Every single day down here is a gift. It's a true joy.
Oh, that's and you exude that aura, you know. What do you remember your first case that really sealed it in? That really sealed it in for you, like where you said, "I made the right decision getting into PI," because your practice is mainly PI, correct?
Yeah. So we do PI now. Yeah. But you know, so we go through different stages in the business, right? So when you're a solo practitioner and you're just starting out, you're in that hustler stage, right? You're going out there, you're trying to get any cases you can get. And I did some domestic work. I hated it. I hated everything about it, but it brought money in, and the firm needed money to be able to operate. And so I was like, man, listen, I'll do whatever it takes to get this to work. So I did that until I eventually just didn't have to. You know, but I mean, there were so many cases early on, but I always knew I wanted to do, you know, personal injury work, but there were a bunch. Two of the, you know, funnest cases I had were really right out of the bat. I got 2 premise liability cases. Nice woman from Houston, Texas, was in New Orleans. She was staying at a hotel. The hotel had repainted the sidewalk. They didn't use aggregate in the paint, right? And so does it rain in San Diego?
Yeah, you know what? We have some rain today. That's why it's kind of gray out here outside. But I would have been outdoors. I normally just take it outdoors, go out in the patio.
Wow. Yeah. Well, so New Orleans is the opposite of that. If I brought my computer outdoors today, it'd probably like shut down from humidity, right? So it's wet. It is a wet environment here. And if you don't put some sort of sand or aggregate in the paint, it's going to be slick as shit, right? And so she's walking, she bites it. She breaks her elbow. She needs to have a surgery on it. She needs to go back and have another surgery on it. And that's the case that I used to start the law firm. Got referred to me by a friend in Texas, and he needed a Louisiana lawyer. And right out of the bat, we worked on that case. I liked it. I had a great client. I had great defense counsel, a horrible defendant that no one would like. And I loved everything about it. I knew, like, this is for me, and I could do it my own way. I didn't have to ask for permission. I could file straight into federal court and kind of practice law in my own terms the way I like to. And so that was, it all started with that one case. It was a great case, and we got a great result for her.
I like what you said about doing everything on your own terms. When I think about personal injury and attorney, like right now, as we talked about before, we started the cast, I was in an accident, and I like someone who's going to be able to understand me, because it's a personal situation. I mean, when that happens, you're letting people into your life, you're coming into someone's life, and you really want to feel that connection of human nature,
right?
If that makes sense to you.
Sure, it does make sense, and at the end of your case, when it's all said and done, if you go that route from your injury, you may find being like, well, now what? I liken it to this. My wife and I were very fortunate. A couple of years ago, we built a house. We built a home for ourselves, and we met with a builder who had an architect, and we met with them every week for like 2.5 years. Sometimes more than every week, because we was down the street from our old house, obviously. Right. And so, very New Orleans of us. And so I would go for a run, and I'd finish my running right in front of the house under construction. And I'd meet the project manager there, and all sweaty and gross, and talk to the builders there. And so it was like so much, it ate every free moment, every free dollar. Everything in our lives was, for 3 years, was about this house. And then we moved in, and even my kids were like, "Where's Mr. Greg?" And as the builder, they're like, "Yeah." And we're like, "Yeah, well, it's over. The house is built. We don't, that's that." And it was, and so if you're practicing law the right way and you're communicating with your clients the right way, much like this home builder doing it the right way, where you spend so much time and energy together, there's almost this anticlimax at the end where you're like, well, now what do I do? Where's Greg? Guys, kids are still asking about Greg. And it's been 2 years. And so that's what it means. That's an example of where if you're doing it the right way, it is personal. And it's about your life and your livelihood and your family. And so we as lawyers, when we get to help people, it's not just them. We may talk to their spouse. We may get to know their kids. We know about their jobs. We know about all the past accidents they may have had or not had, and what they're going to do in the future, and what the doctors are saying, and even some of the things that aren't so great. And so you really create a relationship with your client when you're doing it the right way. And so that's the process, and that's why it's frankly rewarding. That's where the reward comes from, is being able to help somebody, but being they're taking a humanistic approach to the practice of law, and maybe even dialing it back a little bit. Like, I know I talk a lot about the business of law and the business of being an entrepreneur and a founder, or blah, whatever title we want to give ourselves of the week. But in the end, if you're practicing law the right way, it'll feel a little bit more like a country doctor, out in the West Louisiana, where someone comes in and you say, well, what's wrong, man? What hurts? How can I help you? Like, what's happening today? And I think if you approach the practice that way, you'll get a lot of fulfillment, even apart from the business part of it.
Just talking to you right now and knowing what I've read about you, what you just said right there about being in the country. I had a cousin, a doctor, who was in a little small town in upstate New York, little small community, where everybody knew his name. You seem to, you said this, you talk about the mindset shift, where responsibility goes beyond the cases. And when you're sitting there building your business as an owner, the hustle is gone, because you have responsibility. You have people that you've brought in, that you've set, and you spread that aura that you have naturally among your employees. So you talked about being able to sit in the owner's seat and overcoming things like decision fatigue, leadership pressure, and owning outcomes of the decisions that you may make. Walk me through that process.
Yeah. So, so eventually, when you get out of that hustler stage, you get to being like an operator. And I think that's like a really tricky spot to be in. And so I say around here, like, there's not a job I'm asking anybody to do that didn't used to belong to me. I've been the receptionist, I've been the mail clerk, I've been the trial lawyer, I've been the associate, the paralegal, the typist, the secretary, the intake specialist, the chief marketing officer. I don't make up a role. I did it. Bookkeeper, IT support. There's not a single vendor or job here at the firm that didn't at one point in time belong to me. And those are some of the most stressful times of the firm. When you're in the hustler stage, you're so stressed because you just want it to work so bad. You're still dealing and dreaming, and just trying, like, wow, what am I doing? How do I get this? And then as you start to grow and reinvest in the business, then you move into this operator stage. And I think that's really hard, because now you're struggling with things that you really, maybe you're good at them. Some people are just good at stuff. I'm not, I'm not a good bookkeeper, man. What the hell do I know about that? I have a psychology degree. I went to law school, and And some of the things when I was an operator, I was really good at, but weren't really a great use of my time. Some of the things I wasn't really good at, and was a horrible use of my time. And some things I just had to do because there was no one else to do it, and that's just that. And you continue to grow the firm, and as you expand and you hire away these roles, or what people like to say because of that book, right? As you buy back your time, you put yourself in this owner's seat. You start to become something different now. You're not fully an operator now. Now I don't know what they'll say. You're the visionary. I feel like that's like a cult leader when you say visionary. So I don't. Maybe I do. Like I give an aura. Like I'm here like the positive energy. But you own all the decisions. And I say here frequently, guys, if it doesn't work out, like, hear me out. Let's try this. And if it sucks, just say it sucks and we'll do something else. But give it a shot first. Right. Give it a shot. Do it right. So don't just say it doesn't work, so I don't like it. Well, let's make it work first before we decide. And then sometimes it's all about owning those bad decisions. And I think, I'm probably not all that different than most business owners, is that the best lessons I've learned are when I really mess things up. Waiting too long to hire, overstretching people, not hiring the right people, overestimating my ability and desire to train lawyers. I go through this every year. I'm like, oh, we can train. No, we can't. I do not have the time, the desire. I don't get any great, joy from having to teach someone how to be a lawyer. I need you to already know how to do that. I'll teach you how to be a plaintiff's lawyer. But I don't, and that sounds terrible. I'm supposed to be like, oh, I love mentoring. Man, I mean, we're busy. We got too many cases for that. I need to know that my clients are in the right hands. And I guess that's the difference, is that I'm always viewing the clients as my client. And so if I'm going to have a lawyer helping out my client, I need to know that they're in the right hands. And I can't have every case under my docket. Like, it just doesn't work that way. And so I'll sacrifice the mentorship for the peace of mind to knowing that the clients are in the best possible hands. And so every mistake you can make out there, I've made them. I've taken a bath on cases where we overspent. I've had good employees, quit because they were just stretched too thin. I've had good employees, ball their eyes out because they just can't work any harder than they're already working. And so on and so forth. But there are always good lessons. That the deal is you have to be humble and take the lick and just be like, yep, this is me. I messed this up. And then the most important thing is you're like, and I'm not going to do it again. That's the hard part. You gotta be like, we're not going to do this anymore. And so we're getting better with that. Certainly with hiring. And then when we recognize, like, no, I'm not going to allow this behavior here, we're going to cut it off early. Whereas in the old days, it's like, oh, I'm just a fun boss. Like, don't worry about it. We're a cool boss. No, now we have to be serious. And, so it's fun. And I still have a long journey left to go. I don't know if I'm technically an operator or a visionary or a founder or what I am, a CEO. But I know, we still have a lot of growth left in us. And so I'm still learning these lessons, as I go.
Well, you, as I'm listening to you and I'm thinking about your moments before, you have that guy chugging beer is still there in a mature sense, right? You can see it in your eyes, man. You're alive. You took acting. So your ability to express yourself, it just comes naturally, all these things, wanting to be a doctor. So that sitting on your mind, where my point I was trying to get to last time is you could see the doctor in you. I could have seen you being a pediatrician.
Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah. I still get to do it a little bit. Right.
You know what I'm saying? Bringing those elements in. So I saw that you're rated AV. Tell me about the AV rating and what's that honor?
Yeah, well, that's an old Martindale Hubble rating. That's AV preeminent, and that's for ethics and professionalism. And so that's a rating that I got. It's a long time ago now, actually. Wow. Probably back maybe as much as 15 years ago. I'm not sure. And that you're ethical, essentially, and you ask other lawyers, you're rated by other lawyers in the profession, as well as clients. I think I want to say you send it off to opposing counsel, so lawyers you've been on the other side with, and then clients that you've represented, and colleagues, and then they rate you, and that's where that comes from. And so, yeah, that's an ethics rating. So I'm always very appreciative of that. But we talk about that a lot here. I think Warren Buffett says, can take, I'm not a good quote. I'm not gonna butcher any quote. But he essentially says, take 80 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to destroy it. And so when it comes to ethics, every single day you have to have a mindset of like, okay, or is this the right, and it's not easy. People think, I can imagine someone hearing that and thinking, well, of course, I mean, ethics and morality, and it's easy. Well, it's not. It's not, because I get scenarios all the time where I have to be like, well, wait, what is the right decision here? Who am I? I have a client that says this, and I've got a minor child that says this, and then it's like, and then the lawyer comes to me like, what do we want to do here? And I'm like, I don't want to get involved in any of this. Well, okay, fundamental. Let's go back to the basics. Hold on. Who is our client here? Who's our actual client? Like, who do I represent? Well, you represent this person. Okay. Then I only want to view this as a fiduciary of this individual. And so a lot of times you have to stop and rewind and think and think and think and think and think. Am I being, I mean, we always want to be professional, but you have to be, ethical in everything that you do, or it'll just destroy your career, it'll destroy your family, and it'll destroy everything you do. And it is way easier to blow up than everyone realizes. I see lawyers do it all day long.
Yeah, which leads me to the question, or the statement, or a question that from your lips, that why do lawyers fail you? There are lawyers that fail you.
Yeah, well, everyone has a weakness, and I think some, and I will say a great lesson I learned early on from a mentor when I was asking why this lawyer was acting this way, and he said, "Justin, never confuse incompetence for malice," or maybe he said malice for incompetence, but either way, I mean, you get the point. It's not always malice. It's not always Hollywood style greed. Sometimes it's people moving too fast, making, knee-jerk reaction decisions, not thinking about all the consequences and implications. And then when they realize they've made a mistake, not doing the right thing and standing up and say, whoa, hold up. I did not see this coming. I have made a mistake. And I'm going to say I made a mistake, and I'm going to take ownership for my decisions. And so I think that's where lawyers fail a lot of times. We are all fiduciaries. And so it's a huge responsibility to always be in that position of confidence and even more than that, of representing another individual. And so there are greedy people out there. There are, people doing the wrong thing, lawyers getting disbarred for drugs and violence and all the crazy stuff that you see in the news. That's all true. But by and large, that's not where most of us have problems. A lot of lawyers have problems because it's not malice. Sometimes it's just incompetence and too much pride to admit it and then back away from their position.
You're not your normal PI attorney. I saw that you do hurricane, maritime.
Yeah, we'll do maritime. Yeah,
and something about the Louisiana plant explosion. Is it exploding all the time? I mean, what's happening there? You cover all those bases. Like you're very intricate. Like as a business owner, you've built an ecosystem where anything where someone maybe get hurt, they have a place to go. And I think I commend you for that.
Yeah, thanks. Well, I like to keep things fun and exciting. And so I also have a very diverse background in the way that I started my career. And a lot of lawyers here do too. So yeah, if a hurricane comes to New Orleans, we can pivot and on a dime and help you with that, because I'm not like I only want to do car accident cases. I love complicated cases. I love new challenges and being able to help in new ways. The hurricane was fun. Now we don't go chasing after storms, but by virtue of where we are, we're in an unfortunate position to just have a lot of that work. We're winding it down now, so we're down to our last hurricane or two. I think we actually settled a hurricane case today, actually, and might just be one of the last ones on the docket. I need to go check on that. It's been several years now. So
did you have any? Not to interrupt you. Did you have
no.
anybody come to you for Hurricane Katrina in 2005? Did you?
So the firm did not exist in 2005, and I did work on the defense for some Hurricane Katrina work. Towards the end, of the Katrina work, that those older ones. That's when you always look back and you say, what would I have done differently? And sometimes I think, well, I would have started my law firm sooner, or I would have become a plaintiff's lawyer sooner. But then I always have to stop and pause and think, where would you be today if you had done that? Would you even be successful? Would you have had the foundation that you needed to be able to do some of these things? You never know. You never know. But there was a lot of work after Katrina. And so God knows if I'd come out, guns blazing out of law school, we could have done a lot of work. But, you make the decisions you make in life. And I don't try to dwell on like, what would you do differently? Because it could blow up in your face. I know what I did, and we're okay. So maybe I did everything right. And if I had done that, that was everything wrong. So
no, absolutely. No, I asked you that question, and I didn't even know that you were on the defense side. So having that knowledge helps you as a plaintiff with those individuals that are, you're going up against insurance companies that don't want to cover and take care of things. So you're fighting for the people. You're being a service to the people, and that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and that's where a lot of our value add from the law firm comes from. Is that 100% of the lawyers here have represented insurance companies and defendants before. And so very rarely am I in a situation where like, I don't know what the other side's going to do. I don't know anything. Right. I mean, we all know the answer. And it's helpful because now we can focus on some other elements of the case, because I don't have to sit there and wonder, like, what's the insurance company thinking? It's like
you're in a poker game and
right?
It's like you're in a poker game and you know what they're holding already.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I generally, I know, right? It'd be like playing poker, but not knowing there's 52 cards in a deck. Right. And so, it helps to just have that knowledge. And then we can focus on other things. So I loved the hurricane work. I thought it was a lot of fun. We had a great time doing it. And we've done some other, Louisiana, we had BP, we had Katrina, we had a Hurricane Ida, we had the Smitty explosion, and we've had explosions at other Valero plants that we've worked on. And so there's always something going on around here. If it's been 5 years without a disaster, you get ready. Just get ready. Something's about to happen. And so we've just bounced from one thing to the next. But we're there. We're here. We were here for BP, and we were here for Hurricane Ida. We're here for the explosions, and whatever seems to come our way. We're ready to tackle it and have fun while we do it.
Yeah, I see you out in the community. I saw you with your bow tie. Because you have a podcast too that you do.
I do. Above the legal limit.
Above the limit. After 5 or something like that?
Well, it's 2. I have Above the Legal Limit, which is a little more like this, where I talk to other lawyers, business leaders in New Orleans. And then I do an After 5 series, which is really like an Ask Me Anything. I'll have a glass of scotch, and I'll sit there in my chair in my office and people writing questions. So if you have a question, you're always like, I want to know, what Justin's going to say about this, knowing like I don't BS anybody. I'll just give the right answer, even if it's really inflammatory, especially if it is. And then it doesn't bother me. And so that's the After 5 series, which is a lot of fun too. That was the After 5 is really kind of how it started, and then now it morphed into this other thing. But yeah. I like doing it. I've been doing it for 2 years now. I don't know that a lot of people really listen to the podcast. A lot of people think they listen to the podcast, like your mom. Like my mother's like, I see the podcast every day, and I was like, Ma, that's not the podcast. That's just a clip on on Facebook. I was like, you should watch the podcast, listen to it. You might like it. Oh, I don't know how to get it. So
you know what? I don't know if anybody's ever told you this, but listening to you talk and express yourself, you remind me of the actor in the show The House, who was the medical. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
You have a lot of his mannerism.
Okay.
I don't know if you watch House and
yeah, the Doctor House, right? Well, so he also will just be very candid, right? He's not going to sugarcoat.
I'm sitting here right there. I'm thinking. I'm like, I'm like The House. That show, I used to love that show.
Yeah,
his personality and what he was. You have that. I just do
it. He does it with a frown, and I just do it with a smile. So I find if I just say something really insulting and inflammatory to our profession, but I smile while I do it, everyone's like,
right,
fun.
Right. So how many cases did you bring in a month that you guys are working on?
Yeah. So
we're guys busy.
We are busy. We're signing right now about 80 cases on average a month, with a goal to get to 100, maybe next year. So we're pretty 80, yeah. Which for New Orleans is like we're not even that big of a, we're not even bringing in a whole lot of that piece of. We have a small piece of the pie. Let me say it that way. Yeah, we're at about 80 cases a month, which is great because we don't close out anywhere near that. So it keeps us on a positive growth trajectory. And as long as we're on a growth trajectory, we can continue to build new systems and invest in new things and new people. And so that's where the fun comes in.
And what kind of ways do you market? How do you put the Chopin law firm out there?
Yeah, so we have, most of it is digital. We historically we're always a digital advertising firm in all the different ways that you can do it. And then 2 years ago, we really got heavily investing in social media, and so that became sort of one of our mediums for marketing. And then last year we went into TV for the first time. Everyone's like, TV's dead, and I was like, great, I will invest a huge sum of money to put in that. And so I don't know why, because I hate myself. That's why. I
bet it's great.
So we started TV last year. We doubled it this year. And then this year we've grown. So, everything, it's so funny. Everyone's like, where were you 3 years ago? And I'm like, 3 years ago, man, let me tell you. I think 3 years ago I had like 8 people on payroll. And so I've got, 30. We did an outdoor campaign. So now we have an outdoor campaign too. And people get really excited. Actually, it's really funny. In 2017, we did billboards and buses, and not a lot of excitement about it. The creative was very mediocre. I was impatient about it. It's one of my learning mistakes. I was very impatient. And I believe when people will say, oh, you should see a return on your investment in 90 to 120 days. Well, I now know after all these years, like that's not correct. That's not how it works. And not in a market like New Orleans. New Orleans is a very dense legal market. And so if you're investing in outdoor or TV, you need to be prepared to be doing it for several years before you make a decision on whether or not it's working. And so I pulled down the billboards, but I kept the buses because they're cheap. And so I've had the buses running almost 10 years. And it's really funny about that is we this year we put up all these billboards and people love it. And they're so excited about it. And so what a difference it can make, a few years can make. But I always think, I was just at a mastermind meeting last week, and somebody was saying that they wanted to go into outdoor. And I said, well, listen, there's 2 things I want you to know about outdoor. Okay. I'm like, before you do it, this is not me saying not to do it. This is that you need to know these 2 things first. One is it is not a 3 to 4 month endeavor. It's a 3 to 4 year endeavor. 2, the billboard's not the message. I've learned this I don't know. And I bet marketers out there are like, you're an idiot. Like, tell me I'm wrong. That's fine. I could be wrong. I don't have a degree in this shit.
Oh, speak your mind.
But it's not the message. The message needs to come from somewhere else. The billboard is the reminder about the message. And once I could wrap my head around, like, how is the consumer operating? Very rarely is the consumer driving their car and like, oh, okay. And so it needs to be clean and simple and elegant. And it needs to just be a reminder. So my billboards, it's just my firm logo, and it has nothing else on it, not one thing. It's just the Chopin law firm. That's all it says. It doesn't have my face. I don't have a slogan. I have the graphic designer. I mean, I thought she was going to throw up in the wastebasket when I told her I didn't want a call to action. She's like, I think you should have a call to action. I was like, I don't want anything on that billboard. She's like, well, it'll be confusing. I said, great. Maybe someone will Google it. I wanted to confuse the shit out of them. I want someone to be like, who's Chopin? That's it. That's all it is. And it's, we've gotten a little bit of a halo effect from it, I think, because people are talking about it because it is so simple and it's different. It's a way for us to stand back. I mean, I know in San Diego, you guys have huge outdoor advertisers there.
Oh man, LA, they're everywhere.
Right? I mean, what am I going to like come up with a billboard that says like sweet Justin, right? And like trying to look like sweet Jim, like, right. And so advertising for them. And so I think when you're talking about that style of advertising, you're going to have to set yourself apart somehow and figure out how you're going to do it. And I think that's the hard part. And so for us, I was like, well, I'm just going to go super simple because no one else is going to do that. But it's actually funny. Once our ads are up, people start redoing their ads to kind of look like our ads. So that's how you know it's working.
But see, you're right there. What you're exhibiting with your actions, leadership.
Yeah,
leadership. People, you don't have to say anything about you. I'm listening to you right now, and I'm like, I see why you're successful. I see why people come to you because you connect the humanistic approach, and that's a beautiful thing. I'm gonna ask you, what would you tell a lawyer, since you do the hiring, a young lawyer coming in, or the younger you, on what you know today? What would you say with what you learned today that you didn't when you were younger? What advice would you give your younger self and or a younger person looking to step into?
Yeah. Everybody else is in your shoes too. Everybody's still trying to figure it out. Nobody has all the answers. So make your mistakes and learn from them and then move on. But don't think that just because I'm sitting here that I've got all the answers. I don't. I just have made more mistakes in my life than you have. And so I've just had a few more lessons than you have. But in the end of the day, we're all making it up. That defense lawyer that, if you don't even do what I do, you go be a defense lawyer like I did. That 65-year-old male partner at the law firm, he doesn't know everything. And take confidence in that and then reinvest in yourself and in those mistakes. Invest in yourself by allowing yourself to learn and make mistakes. Just be careful that when you do that, you stand up and you say out loud that you did. But that's how you're going to learn. And that if you want to be successful, that's how you're going to be successful, is by being like, oh, okay, that didn't work, or oh, I didn't really give that a chance. Okay, I'm going to do better on that next time. And but that's I think that's the only advice I could give to a young lawyer or younger me, is just keep doing what you're doing. Stay out of trouble first and foremost. We see the rise and fall of a lot of lawyers. There's a lot of noise out there. Everybody wants, especially in this world we live in of conspicuous consumption, everybody wants to be like a Kardashian. And, you get God, even your own mother will call you up. Did you see so-and-so got a new car? Don't worry about all that. Don't worry about all that. Because in the end, you can call her up. You can call her up and say, do you know how she got that new car? Do you know what she did? I do. And it's, could end her career. So, keep your nose clean, and hard work. I tell this, I was saying this to not one of my kids, but I was saying it to a niece or nephew. We were talking about, just innate ability and hard work. And I was like, in the end of the day, no matter where you are in life, no matter what you're doing, no matter where you are in the world, hard work will always outwin innate ability. So don't worry about the other person. You just work harder and you will absolutely have everything you want in life.
Right. That's sound advice. Sound advice. With that being said, what I ask all my attorneys, man, it's been so good talking to you.
Yeah, thanks for
you already exhibit a lot, but when you hear the term Loudr Lawyer, what does Loudr Lawyer mean to you?
Well, it's not louder, but it is, be yourself, be your own voice. Really great piece of advice I got from another lawyer who's now a competitor of mine was, you got to be Justin Chopin. Don't worry about trying to be this person. Don't worry about trying to be, if you're that person, it's inauthentic. Everyone's going to see right through you. Don't be that person. Don't try to be that person. Don't try to be me. Only person you can be is Justin Chopin. And Justin Chopin is the best person for you to be. And so to be louder is to lean in on yourself. Your voice is perfect. Be your own voice. And don't try to be somebody else.
Well, that's beautiful. That's so sound. I see you here at Loudr Lawyer, or at Loudr Lawyer, we look at, or Loudr Media, we look at Loudr Lawyers being ones that are involved in a community and all the things that happen. I see that you get involved in the Mardi Gras. Some special little dessert that you were.
King cakes, we do a king cakes, every year.
The king cakes. That's what I want to talk to you. I saw you had all these king cakes. You had them up. You were tasting them, and it was like beautiful.
That's like the best day of filming of the whole year. We get to just line them up, and I get to try to guess which one they are. And king cake time is fun. In New Orleans, it runs from early January until Mardi Gras, and that's it. You can't have one any other time throughout the year. So you're looking at a 30, 60-day window in which you're allowed to have king cake here. And there are some bakers that'll still make it, but locals, like we try not to do that. We save it for when it's special. It'd be like having eggnog in like
right.
In May, right? It'd be like a nice frothy glass of eggnog today. If you did that, it wouldn't be special. So it's always like a lot of fun. We try to get out in the community. We try to get out in the community and help, in the ways that we can, and just be present in our own community. We'll volunteer, at a homeless shelter, or we'll volunteer at Covenant House, which is a homeless shelter, but specifically geared towards, children. And we're doing a big food drive. We're doing a big can drive right now because school's about to let out. And in our community, without those school meals, food insecurity is a real problem for children summers. And so it's just one very small, hey, if I can even provide one meal for one child, what better blessing is that than be able to give that? So we're trying to do that. So we got our office has boxes and boxes of canned goods. And the firm's going to match that as soon as we go deliver them. I can't match them right now. I have no place to put it. So we're wait. And we're helping out because there are a lot of pantries in the community that have been opening up over the last couple of years. And they'll have little pantries with like refrigerators, and they're throughout New Orleans. New Orleans is a very poor community. People don't always think of it that way. It's a land of haves and have-nots, and not a whole lot in between. So I think what we're going to do is we'll match the canned goods with fresh goods, and that can deliver in those refrigerators. But we just try to be present in the community as much as we can. I've learned over the years it's easy to kind of keep your head down and work and be holed up in your office, but in the end, it's I think you're spinning your wheels when you do that. And you're wasting an opportunity for yourself, and for others.
Man, that's beautiful, man. The world needs more human beings like you, business owners like you. You know what I mean? You come from the heart. You don't come from the head. You come from the heart.
I think you got to have a big heart. I think you got to have a big heart to be, a business owner, and a lawyer automatically puts you in a leadership position. And so I think there's responsibility there. I think if you're going to do it, you're going to have heart. And I think that's a lot of times where that authenticity comes from is, people can spot a fake, but we try to help any way we can.
You're the real deal, man. Where do you see yourself in the future? Where do you see Chopin for law firm?
I do want to do that in the next 5 years. We want to branch out into some other regions near us. We're already trying to branch out in some other satellites in South Louisiana. And so we're signing leases, trying to work on that right now. I'd like to grow, in the next 5 years, and maybe, I've 3X'd once before. I'm looking to do it again. I think it'd be a lot of fun. I'm excited to try it again. So that's kind of hopefully what's on the horizon.
Yeah, I'd like to see you. I'd like to get you to talk to the guys at Loudr Media, man. They're
I'd love to.
Yeah, they help people grow. That's what they help people grow. Very good at what they do.
Well, I'm all ears. I love it. I'm always looking to grow. I'm always looking for new lessons in leadership and how I can improve and what we need to do. So yeah, put me in touch. I'd love to hear from them.
Yes, Justin, it was a pleasure.
Yeah,
pleasure talking to you. Thank you for being a guest. Thank you for being so humble and open-hearted, man.
Well,
open-hearted. The mindset shift in you. You sat down, you were comfortable. I felt, because we were going to talk before, but you had something to come up. You're so busy. So you canceled on me.
Yeah,
I was all ready for you. That's why in my mind, I was like, wait, there was something you were doing that I was watching you eat the king cake.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I want to just come to Louisiana to get some king cake.
Now that's the thing. Come to New Orleans, come on down and definitely come get king cake. If you're not from here, so you can get king cake any time of the year. I won't judge you for that. We can get you.
Hey, my daddy's in Georgia. So we went from Georgia, went down twice because I was part of a group that went and did a charity run for the kids in Hurricane Katrina.
Okay.
The people were displaced. So we did a motorcycle ride cross country from Los Angeles to Shreveport, Louisiana. Nice. And I got to see the devastation that was there, man. And it was just
and it's still, listen, I mean, that lot 2 houses down from us where my kids like to throw the ball back and forth, that used to be a house before Katrina. It's easy to kind of have blinders on and forget, but a lot of what you see, it's like, it's been that way ever since Katrina. We still talk about it. I was at a restaurant with my sister on Saturday. She says, is this the thing that they serve? Blah blah blah. And I go, no, they haven't had that since Katrina. It permeates our culture.
Right.
That's part of our culture.
Yeah, that's part of the culture now.
Yeah, it's like what used to be here, and all the things that we don't have anymore. But that's okay because we're resilient and we have new things, and that's okay. We encourage you to come on down. And,
yes, I will definitely. And Justin, tell people how they can get a hold of you. How can they?
Yeah. So if you have any questions, if you want to know if you're hurt and you want a lawyer, that's easy, But if you have, anything you need, it's just Chopin.com. You can email me, Justin@Chopin.com. You can just Google us or come check us out. And hey, when I'm doing my podcast, if there's a question you want to know, because it's hard to get people to ask questions. So if you're out there, or you're seeing this, and you're like, man, I want to see what Justin's going to say on the podcast, just go ahead and shoot it over to Justin@Chopin.com, and we'll see. Maybe I'll answer it.
All right. Well, Justin Chopin, thank you so much for being a guest here on Loudr Lawyer Network.
Very nice to meet you.
Look forward to talking to you soon, sir.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks for being a part of the Loudr Lawyer Network. If you're enjoying the conversation, let us know. Give us a like and subscribe to never miss a thing. We'll see you next time right here on the Loudr Lawyer Network.